Everyone, and welcome to the Small Business Cheerleader. I'm here with the amazing Kerrie Allen from GameFace HQ, and also we love her from all the Hey Control Freak diaries and branding and everything in the past that she's done. We love her. How are you this morning?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
That's okay. We're here today. Really, we want to talk about being yourself in business and showing your face in being authentic and making sure that we're not playing by other people's rules. Yep. That's all we're here today. Give me a little background on how you got to GameFace HQ and where all of this really wanting to work to your authentic self. How did that come about?
Oh, that's a long story now. I turned 41 last week and I'm starting to embrace the fact that I've been working for a long time now. It's quite scary to accept, but feels like yesterday. But it all started, I think it's always been a personality thing for me. I'm quite independently led, as my mother probably said in a few different ways when I was a child. But I always... in every job, I left school quite early and went straight into work, and into management very, very young, and always found it really, really difficult I love to learn and I love to be shown and take all of that in and then find my own way with things to make it work for me. And I always found it really difficult to slot in a working environment where you couldn't do that or it wasn't encouraged, and knowing there was a better way to do something and being restricted in doing that would drive me absolutely mental. And a lot of the jobs I had, the managers or the owners would allow that freedom to a certain extent, but was still really anchored in how we've always done it. And it was a real heavy anchor in every environment that I worked. And you can try, and I worked bloody hard for the people that I worked for, long hours, and you can try and you can try and you can try, but at the end of the day, it's their business and it's their way. So that definitely started really early in work, and for every achievement you had in changing something, there was always something you still couldn't push forward, and that just got increasingly frustrating over the years.
Yeah, and that's right. And people forget that when you're working for someone else, it is ultimately their business. And as much as we can have our creativeness and our drive for what we would like to see, you're right. We're just restricted by either, their goals, their budgets, what they have. And that's where, when you have that entrepreneurship inside you, you tend to always gravitate to where you can have an outlet for that. That's what I find, where you can have and run by your own rules.
100%. And it is their risk at the end of the day. That's what I always held at the forefront was like you said, you can have all these ideas and these beliefs in how it could be done, but it's their risk. It's their butt on the line. So you have to still respect that in those environments. So it was a long time coming for me to go out and do things myself. But more importantly, there was always, and with, I run multiple businesses, and the drive for me behind every single one of them is to make sure that people are doing things their own way. So, with GameFace, it's all about consultancy and strategy for business owners to run their business for them and not for other people. For Control Freak, they're products for people who still love pen on paper, no matter how much technology gets thrown at us. Like, I don't want people to shift away from that if that's how they work best.
No, that's 100%. And that that's where I was introduced to you first off, was a Hey Control Freak, and because it spoke to me in that sort of that way of organizing my business, but being able to do it old school, but still with my own sense of controlling how I wanted it to be, and making sure I was on top of everything and just having it all in one place. That was the first time I'd ever seen that, being able to have my business in front of me in one thing. And again, that came from you knowing that that's something that people had wanted to be in control of their own business, their own way. And that gave us a way to do that. So it's obviously been something you've been very passionate about for a long time. So what do you think it is that holds most small business owners back in regards to, playing by their own rules?
Yeah, look, it's an interesting one to look at, because it's really easy to sit on the outside looking in and say it's really easy to do it your own way. And I'm very respectful.
We know that there are roadblocks along the way that you have to navigate.
For sure. And, aside from the million hats that small business owners have to wear, we all know that, there isn't often budget for everything to be outsourced and to be sitting there enjoying just the parts of business that you love. We wear so many hats. The environment around us is constantly changing. We just get on top of something and then something's ripped out from under us and nope, it's going to be this way now. I think for me, what I'm finding with clients and with friends around me, a lot of my friends are in business, whether they work and business or fully in business. I think it's really coming down to watching others and trying to keep up with that because we're so overwhelmed with everything we have to do. So the path there is to, okay, they're doing it this way. This is how I need to pick up and do it so I can survive. It's a real survival instinct I find. And it's heartbreaking. It's really hard to watch, but it's also, like I said, something that I can 100% relate to and know how easy it is to fall into that trap and into that pattern. But I think it's like anything in life. Business is no different to your personal life in my mind. Once you are doing things the way you truly feel at home in it, then it becomes a whole lot easier. Stress, the type of stress changes, the people you surround yourself changes, everything changes once you sit comfortably right in the middle of that. And for me, there's so much potential sitting unlocked or buried. It's not even unlocked, it's buried in all the other stuff. And it's hard to sit back and watch when I know that there's so much more people can be doing that fulfills them.
And you can see it. I mean, and that's why I'm so heavy on the vision, mission and values, because to me, without understanding that, you really don't have any way forward, because you're either just keeping up with the Joneses, you're regurgitating other people's visions and content, or you just circle round and round and round, because you're not actually heading towards anything that's your greater vision of where the change you want to make in the world or the difference you want to see in people's lives. You tend to be scrolling and looking for whatever anyone else is doing. And that noise can really, really mess with our head, because we think, well, maybe what we're doing isn't making a difference because it's not what everyone else is doing. But that's bullshit, because if you're really invested in your vision and what your why is, it will always come through, because it's your authentic self. It's 100%. When you start changing that messaging with other people, I find on what you think other people want from you, that's when it's just, you're never going to reach your vision, because you're never going to be authentically chasing what you want.
Yeah, well said. 100%. And it's I think people are getting lost in what their own definition of success looks like. I did some Instagram stories months ago now about this, because I'd come off the back of a client conversation that really hit hard, that she was chasing something she didn't even want, all those hours and all that unpaid work and all that stress and all that heartache and all that courage going into the business, and that end goal wasn't even what she wanted as the end goal. And it happens all the time. And it's like people lose, you don't have to be chasing, 6-figure months if that's not where you want to be. If your priority is to be able to be, one of my priorities is that 9 times out of 10 from 3 o'clock until 8 o'clock, I'm not working, and I can pick my daughter up from school, bring her home, and be here. And there's always things that need to be done, but a priority for me is that my day can be split in two, a morning shift and a night shift. And that's a huge priority for me. And to go back to sacrificing everything I'm working for and losing that too, all of those priorities, that to me, that is success, to be able to work in the morning and work at night and have that middle of the day
That's
free.
Exactly right. And I mean, we just see so much online, this 6-figure, 7-figure, we have to be able to do it all. We have to be able to, to have this to be successful. But ultimately, I agree 100%, because if I can drop my kids off and pick my kids up and go to soccer training and do whatever I need to do, and I'm still happy and still thriving in a business that I love, I still think that that's much more important than me working 80 hours a week so that I can get this 7-figure income to do what with.
No time to spend it. No time to spend it.
I mean, it's great if that's what you want, and you can make a difference.
100%.
So I'm happy to go for that if I think that what I'm doing is making a difference in people's lives and it's getting me closer to my vision. Then I'm 100% all in.
For sure.
Way. But if it's doing it so that other people think I'm successful, or that I'm hitting some form of success that is out there in the general public, well, then no, because a life's too short, and you need to be having passion, something that drives you. And passion doesn't mean it's easy. See, people get that confused. They think, oh, she's just on her thing of, making herself happy and doing whatever. But no, it's hard going for your vision, because like you said, you have to go against the norm. And it's going by your own rules, and that's difficult, isn't it? Because people will see you as being something that's not following the normal trends. And why is she doing that? And why does she care so much about that? But then that drives you every day. And I feel that that's much more fulfilling than just hitting this 6-figure thing that supposedly we're all supposed to want.
Yeah, 100%. And don't get me wrong, I'm here.
6 figures are great.
I'll take them any day. But there's more.
But as long as it's not the sacrifice of something that you really
100%
means something to you.
Yeah, and that's not often, when you really sit down with people who have achieved what they feel is their success, the money didn't drive them. There's another purpose there. And for me, 100%, my drive, like I said before, is making sure that everybody I work with in some way, shape or form, whether it's a service or I make them a product or anything I do, I have to feel like it's going to allow somebody else to go after that potential, or go after that dream, or go, have the courage to do something their way. And as long as that aligns, then it doesn't matter, how much hard work there is to get there. It feels driven, it feels right. And that makes it all a whole lot easier. And Yvette and I,
right. It's definitely the aligning, I find. And that's where I work with my clients on the why, because then you find aligned clients, because they're aligned with your journey. And then you feel like you're then making a difference in their life. Because mine is to provide clarity and reduce the overwhelm for people in their marketing journey. Because having 23 years in the shopping center industry, I've seen that many retailers and small businesses go out of business and have ghost loans of $200,000 for businesses that went under. So to me, that's my why. It's been over those years of seeing the pain in those people's eyes and the pain it caused their family. So when I could have that opportunity to work directly one-on-one with them to help them find that clarity in how they could make their businesses more viable via their marketing, in having a proper why, that keeps me going, because, and then I get people aligned because they come on the journey with me.
Yeah.
So the next thing was, what's the danger in following what others are doing rather than, what's right for your own business? What do you find the danger is when people go along that path?
There's one huge danger in doing that. And that for me always comes down to, every business needs a strategy, whether it's written, it used to be the old school business plan. It used to be, it's been called a million things along the way, but every business needs its own strategy, and true strategy comes through analyzing things, brainstorming things, conceptualizing, testing them, trying them again through what you're trying to achieve at the end. And if what you're trying to achieve at the end is somebody else's goal, you lose the integrity in that whole process, or you don't strategize at all, because you're just trying to work towards what it is you're looking at, on the other side of the fence. So the scariest danger for me is the amount of small businesses that, and I know there's a reason for it, but the amount of small businesses that don't have their own plan ahead of them, or their own, that process they're trying to work through. And don't get me wrong, every strategy does this, especially in the world we're living at the moment, right? We couldn't have predicted, but and it's always done that. It's definitely amplified because of what we've been through over the last, 12 months, 18 months, but it's always done that. There's always a new competitor popping up in your market. There's always a new technology coming through. There's always something that forces you to relook at your own strategy. But when there's that,
at least you're looking at it.
Yeah, exactly. And when it was yours to start with, it's so much easier to revisit it and go, okay, crap, we're gonna try this instead. When you're replicating something or trying to imitate something, you don't have that to fall back on. It's like, shit, well, I don't know what my other thought was, so I've only got one path. That's all I've got. And that's terrifying.
And that's why I tried to allow people to understand that you've got marketing is your strategy, and advertising, social media, PR, publicity are your tactics. So people forget that marketing is not your advertising. You're not marketing if you're advertising. That's your tactics. Your strategy is your marketing. And people go, well, well, I don't have a strategy. I'm just doing ads or Facebook ads, or I'm just putting up content. Yeah, but what's your 1-year strategy, 3-year, 5-year? Where do you want to be in 10 years? What's your mission? How are you measuring anything? Are they working? Do you know if you need to amend anything? So I just try and make sure that all small business owners know that it doesn't have to be a 20-page document. It can be 1 page. As long as you're measuring what it is you're doing and making amendments along the way, and you're going towards a greater goal, then you will always get there in the end.
Yeah.
Whereas the other ones, you'll go round and round and round and round, and shiny things will distract you all the time.
Yeah.
Oh, it's new software. It's a new thing. Oh, so-and-so's got, 10,000 followers. I better go and get 10,000 followers. And you're not really strategizing your business and making clear goals all the way. That's what I find is the difference they're not doing.
100%. And it's all smoke and mirrors. In most cases, the story you're aspiring to generally isn't what you even think it is anyway. I know businesses that have 400 followers on Instagram and they make a huge turnover in their business because they've invested their energy in building relationships other ways. Yes, they get work through Instagram, but it's very they're warm leads. They're people who are already pre-qualified for what it is they're offering, and it doesn't matter. They could have 10,000 followers. It would make no difference because their goal is to meet people, work with people that fit into a certain, like you said, into that alignment, into that right mold. And that's where they work best. That's what they're achieving. And their businesses are booming. It's every business. Some businesses need, control freak. We need a decent audience on social media because that's how people show off our product and that's how people promote it. And but again, we've got
people are very loyal to control freak.
Absolutely.
Though. I find I was very, very loyal for many years in regards to share, with my staff and making sure that everyone I knew about it because I believed in what you were doing. And I think that's what you're saying. Like if you have an authentic reason for doing it, people will go along that journey with you.
100%.
Yeah. And they will be raving fans, which is what I tell people. If you've got a proper strategy and your customer market segment and everything is on point, then ultimately they will become loyal and raving fans. And that's the ultimate goal for any business.
There's no better form of marketing, right? Is other people out there telling other people they have to have what you've got.
That is the ultimate. That's where you want to get in business, is that you are getting raving fans who are referring you on. That means you're doing something right. That means you're on your way to actually achieving what it is you're trying to do because people believe in it. And I can't tell people that enough. It doesn't matter how many followers you have, although it's great for business in regards to getting you seen. It's about how you interact with those people and the actual the networking and the messaging and really, really taking time to find what they want and listening to them.
Yeah. 100%.
And so what do you think's caused the shift to us feeling this pressure, to be the same as everyone else? Is it social media or is it just ourselves being insecure in this changing, everything's changing so quickly?
Yeah, I think, look, social media definitely has a part to play. Obviously, it's very different. When I first went into small business years ago, I had a bookkeeping business years and years and years ago, and there was no small business community at all, let alone online like it is now. There was nobody to sort of turn to and have that relationship with of, hey, what are you doing? What are we doing? It was you didn't have it. So obviously social media plays a huge part. I think the highlight real situation on social media has a lot to answer for, but I actually think ultimately it comes down to we've all got a certain amount of courage in us. I think we've got a certain amount, and there's a difference between confidence and courage. Confidence is once you find your ground, you can roll with it. Courage is actually getting to that ground in the first place and going, shit, I'm going to give this a go. I'm going to get out there. I think people's level of courage going into business has skyrocketed. People are starting businesses and getting into it, tenfold, 100-fold to what they were 10, 15 years ago. It's a more acceptable venture to take for people. People are doing it alongside their work and starting that hard side hustle. And there's all this courage going into giving it a shot, but there's a lack of experience backing up that courage, and then all you're left with is, I've got a lot to do, a lot to learn. Where am I? What am I going to do?
And that's where the overwhelm is, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And then you're looking to others to say, right, well, they look successful, they're doing kind of what I want to do, so I've obviously got to replicate their journey. I'm not saying replicating products. I mean, like you said, 10,000 followers, doing this sort of promotion, doing this, looking like this. It all comes, for me, I think it's awesome. I actually love the fact that people have this courage to get out there and do their own thing. Obviously, I said at the very start, that's what I'm so invested in, is people going after what it is they want. But I think because it's a lot easier now to take that leap of courage, because back 15 years ago when you launch a business, how did you reach people? You went to their door, you dropped something at their door, you posted it out to them. You didn't just tag, you didn't have,
and there wasn't all the online. You couldn't just create your own.
We didn't have a website.
Literally half an hour and be up and going. I mean, I think that's where also the people have to watch out, because they do think it's so easy. And I worry a little bit about that, because people that have had, like, say, yourself and myself have been around for so long, we've seen the journey. Whereas there's a lot of people trying to, well, also out of necessity, they can't find work as in a job. So they end up creating their own business to provide themselves with work. Some can do really well and others really struggle. So it's still about having that strategy behind why you're doing it, so that you can keep going, not just the fact that everyone else seems to be doing it, so why can't I?
Yeah. And that for me, that's the missing link, is it is so easy to get started. But, if you go back, you couldn't, if you go back, I'm showing my age, but if you go back 25, 30 years, a business couldn't start without a 30-page business plan to go to a bank and say, can you please help me do this? And it was this big, boring, shitty document, but you had to tell somebody, your landlord, the bank, whoever, they all asked for this business plan, right? And they wanted to see that you had thought about every possible scenario and outcome and risk and contingency plan, and you had to prove that before anybody would even let you open the doors. So that's gone, and thank God, because those big long business plans were they were.
I mean, we had those in the shopping centres when we used to have people try and obviously come in and rent space, and they used to have a fit out guide to show us how the thing was going to look. They had to have all their branding done so that we could see what the branding was going to look like. They had to have a marketing strategy for the opening. It was, it was really intense. So I can understand now, because of all these online at-home businesses, people think it's a lot easier, but they're forgetting that they still need the structure. And I think if they can go in with not the 10-page one, like I said before, and just be a one-page, I'm referring to the marketing more than the business side, but as long as you know how you're going to get leads, how you're going to nurture them, and what all your target market is, and your messaging, once you've done that work, it's done. So, but you need to do it, and then everything else will, I think, fall into place for you if you really put that effort in with the authentic messaging, I think.
I agree. I think, that's definitely the difference. All you need now is an idea, and you can roll with it, where there used to be a lot more accountability in that starting process.
And that's why you're finding coaching is becoming a lot more prevalent now, because people are needing that, I say I'm the small business cheerleader. You need a cheerleader in your corner to make, is this right? Is this really what I should, what about this? And you can brainstorm, and you can have someone who's been there. Like they say, you should never be the smartest person in the room. Always try and make sure you've got somebody in your corner that's either one step ahead or has done what you want to do. And really, really work with them, mentoring, coaching, programs, whatever you need, because that's where you're going to get the difference, and you're going to get it quicker, because you're not going to have to make all those mistakes yourself along the way. You can really take that. But I think.
And you're always, everybody's making mistakes, even the most experienced are always. Sorry.
We still everyone makes mistakes. And that's why you need to talk to people who have been there, because they can tell you ways to, it's not the end, because you can always come back. and the resources and things that can help you get through that you might not know of or you haven't heard of, or, you know, that's where people who are in the place that you want to be, they're the ones you want to start talking to and making connections with, and so that you can really bounce ideas off. And that's where Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn are great in making those connections. And I think it's very much about getting in and talking to those people, sliding into DMs, attending networking events, you know, just commenting on people's posts that you really enjoy the content of, to make sure you've got that connection, because connections always end up being something later on that you don't know about. So
100%.
the more connections as a new business owner you can do, along with your strategy, will get you hopefully to where you want to be. But authentic self and playing by your own rules and making sure that you're not just keeping up with the Joneses is definitely the message for today. I think we've both been around for a long time because we're, you know, in our 40s. So I think when I see the young people come in now wanting to do it all and have it all straight away, it worries me. So I want to make sure that those people who have awesome energy and awesome ideas also have the structure. So that's why, you know, now podcasts are fantastic, you know, ebooks, online trainings, there's so much out there that people can do. Speaking of which, how can people find out all about GameFace HQ and Hey Control Freak and everything you do? Where can they go?
Instagram's the easiest. We've got websites for both too. So Instagram for GameFace is just at GameFace HQ, and I quite often go on some little rants on topics that pop up there.
I love which is and your rants always make conversations happen online, which is what I love.
Yeah, which is great. And the same with Control Freak. So at Hey Control Freak on Instagram, and keep up to date there. We're not always super duper active on social media because we're too busy working for clients, but
I hear you.
Definitely check it out, because when we've got something to say, that's where we're doing it.
Yeah, well, exactly. And I've also got all of the little quotes and things that used to come with my hey in the background on my red file there. It's exhale all the bullshit.
Yep. We still stand by that. It's still our favorite.
Yeah, I've got that up there. That stays there the whole time. So so I love your authentic voice. It always when I went into business with NW Marketing 5 years ago, it was one of the first sort of things that was what I used to plan my business. So thank you very much for that.
Wonderful. That's great.
Yeah, so hit up Kerrie on everything, and she's wisdom when it comes to business. So make sure you check her out for GameFace HQ or Hey Control Freak. And thank you very much for being with us today.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me.
No worries. Right. See ya.